thanks for taking the time to do this. It's something I really, really appreciate. How's your day going so far? Because obviously we've got a time difference.
Yeah, day's going pretty good. It's 3 o'clock here in the afternoon, so I'm gonna have a beer. And yeah, we got some nice weather, so probably do some stuff outside when we're done.
Oh, awesome. It's always kind of nice, right? Because ultimately the album is out now, April 1st. So that
Oh
period's
yeah.
done. You can kind of, that's in the rearview mirror. And I guess now it's,
Right.
I don't want to say it's more relaxing period of time because ultimately you still got to promote, you still got to do your press stuff and you got to do all of that. But is it a lot? Is it a weight off the mind?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's awesome because we recorded and wrote the album a while ago, so it's like now when we tell people, oh, the album's out, you can check it out, it's everywhere right now, got the videos out, so it's just cool. And now it's, we're starting to think about, all right, what's next,
That's
because
it.
we already got a bunch more tunes, so
I'd be very surprised if you didn't. I don't think I've ever spoken to any musical artist from any band who isn't currently promoting something, but also trying carefully not to talk about what comes next.
right, yeah, exactly, there's yeah.
So the album,
We can't give
Sympathy.
all the info right away.
Well, no, I mean, otherwise, what would be the point of coming back in 2 years' time to talk about that one?
Right.
So yeah, of course, the album, Sympathy for the Ignorant, out now. If you don't mind me saying an upfront blast of old school thrash heaviness that will make you go and grit your teeth and go searching for that bullet belt you once wore. That's sort of the words we wrote in our review. We loved it. How have you
Thanks
found?
so much.
No worries. Absolutely. Do love it. Absolutely. But what about the overall reaction that you found? Now the dust is sort of beginning to settle, and I'm talking about sort of when you go scouring the Facebooks, the YouTube comments and all of that. What have you sort of found?
Oh, everyone seems to love it, and it's great. It's like the best feeling in the world, honestly. And it's so cool that this is actually like a thing and happening. All of us in the band have wanted to do this, our whole lives. So to actually have an opportunity to do it and have people just say, we love the record, we, love the band. It makes me feel awesome and great and very grateful too. So, thank you to everyone that's checked it out and liked it and took the time to say it's good or bad or whatever. It's all good. We all appreciate it, and thank you so much. And yeah, it's super cool.
Have you come across much in the way of criticism and anything that you particularly pulled out of that you quite enjoy that person's view?
Not really in particular, but I'm sure, I mean, haters are gonna hate, so it is what it is, but it's been mostly just good reviews, and it's awesome.
Have you noticed an increase in sort of attention since obviously the signing to the label, releasing the album underneath the label?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I work at a local venue here as a front of house audio engineer, and yeah, I'll be at work doing my thing, and people be like, "Hey, you're the Misfire guy, right?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's me. I play bass. What's up?" So it's super cool. Now it's not just like, our friends and family that we've been telling, "Hey, check out my band," it's just, random people that have been, like I said, I'll be working or I'll be on stage and changing out mics on a drum kit or whatever, and I'll be hearing people yell from the crowd, Misfire or whatever. So it's super awesome.
That's so cool. That's so cool as well. And obviously, it's been a difficult road to even get to this debut album. 2 EPs, 2019, 2020, and bam, pandemic. And the music industry grinds to a halt. It really did. So talk to us about Misfire's experience over the last few years and the effect the pandemic not only had on you, but this album and the process with moving forward.
Right. So like we were just starting to get the thing, the band going and everything. We did the EP, jamming and writing the early tunes. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you can't do anything, can't go anywhere. So it's like, well, all right, we still jammed. I mean, they shut everything down. So it's like, yeah, you can't leave, you can't hang out with your friends. We're like, yeah, fuck that. Come over and jam. So we just jammed like constantly throughout that whole quarantine, and just tightened up the screws on the earlier the songs that we had at the time, and wrote some new ones too for the album. So we just kept the machine going, because it's rock and roll. So and
Sorry,
go ahead. Oh, so yeah, and then we got signed, and it's greatest feeling in the world, but we still couldn't really do stuff because nothing was happening. So shows are starting to, they're coming back now. We've just had actually a few sold out shows at our venue, which is super awesome. So yeah, we're just basically, we spent a lot of the COVID time prepping for tour and the green light to go, all right, you could go out there and play, instead of like, I mean, we did some shows too, but it was like real small scale stuff. And we just recently started doing house parties too. And those are a lot of fun.
It's incredible because ultimately there was so many stop starts, and what started off as, oh, in 6 months time everything will be okay, to 2 years down the line and everything still isn't really okay in the same as it was. But your work as I mean, you got doubly hit then, because obviously Misfire can't really move forward, but also the music industry went ground to a halt. So your music engineer, your day job, I mean,
Yeah.
Did you manage to stay positive?
Yeah, I actually used to do different. I was a carpenter for about half that COVID time, and then I quit that job and started working at the venue. So it was like, yeah, we went from having a bunch of shows to like a couple shows, but I always just, I was like, well, I got the band, and the government gave like certain, assistance with stuff. So I was like, well, I'll be all right. And so we just, it's like, I might as well jam and write some tunes about what's going on. And, I try to be pretty positive about everything, but, we just kept on keeping on.
Yeah, it's great to hear, because it was such a difficult period. And, we always try and talk to everyone we speak to at the moment about the past years, sort of see how different people are, particularly what might have helped the individuals, the bands, kind of get through that period. Now, I don't want to preempt your answer, but it feels like the kind of thing that helped you guys get through that period is the jamming, the hanging out, and just playing together constantly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about like hanging out and vibes and playing music with your bros. I mean, that's why this is like the best like job or whatever. Most of the time doesn't feel like we're, even when I'm working at my day job at the venue, it's like, I get paid to watch shows, and just jamming with my bros is what I've always wanted to do. I did that in high school. I'm definitely not going to stop. And for me, I look forward to that too. If I have like a shitty day or whatever, it's like, if I know we're going to be jamming later on, I'll be like, yeah, whatever. We're going to jam. It'll be fun. Drink some beers, smoke some weed, whatever.
So you still very much got that down to earth aspect to your personality, clearly what you're describing. Do you ever envision a rock star moment, as it were? Do you know who I am, sort of thing?
I mean, I definitely like try to keep myself in check, because at the end of the day, like I'm very grateful with everything that's happening, and I see this as a blessing, no matter what comes of it. It's just to have the opportunity to be able to do this, like to have this interview with you, man. It's like, if you would have told younger me, like, yeah, you're going to be doing this, you're going to have to schedule interviews, I would have been like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. But for it to actually be happening, so I'm always very grateful to, like, everyone that likes our band and likes our music. And I don't want anyone to meet me and be like, man, that guy was a dick.
Oh, fair.
After working at a venue, it's like, I've met some of those guys that are dicks, and it's like, man, I really liked your band and I had a good vibe, and now it's like, after meeting you, you're kind of an asshole. So it's like, oh, I don't know, it doesn't ruin it, but it's just like, I remember that. I just want people to, like, when they meet me, be like, oh yeah, he's bass player Misfire, he's cool. Yeah.
No, that's cool.
I'm just a dude.
Quite a cliche in regards to Sympathy for the Ignorant. It is no nonsense, and that is reflected in a lot of the content. Tracks like War of Mine, No Offense, and He Said, She Said. When it comes to inspiration, was it simply a matter of effectively looking out the window and seeing the state of things, or did you kind of dig inside yourself?
It's a little bit of both. A
Mm.
little bit of both. So, we all contribute like riffs and ideas and words and everything and arrangements. But yeah, it was definitely, some of the songs were a vision, or looking at the world. Like Fractured was not necessarily written about particular, like the pandemic itself and all that. But that was just like an idea that we, you know, it's a common idea throughout human history, unfortunately. You know, that was just something we could write about. Some of the other songs, like War of Mine, comes from more of like a personal place, you know. But yeah, it's kind of, we just kind of write what we see, what we feel. And you know, we try to put like thought in our lyrics to where it's not like a simple like you know, just nonsense. We want the lyrics to mean something to go with the music, because you know the music means something separate than the lyrics. You know, both of them together make it the final piece. So yeah, we, you know, we a little bit of everything, a little bit of what we're feeling, what we're seeing, and you know, that's what you get with the tunes.
And are you I guess hoping to trigger an emotional response from anyone that listens, regardless if it necessarily tallies up and marries up to what you thought when you wrote it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The songs are totally up for interpretation. I mean, we could see the same word and interpret it different ways. So, you know, it's just kind of like planting the idea, the seed, and then where you go from there is wherever you want to go from there.
You talked previously about when you were younger, in school and stuff like that. Now, obviously, it's no secret, and I think it's something that is worth well known about Misfire. You guys, or two of you guys, particularly played in the band beforehand, and that while you're a bass player, you also play. You're multifaceted. You've got play a number of instruments, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How much of that past influence seeps its way into Misfire, or do you see it as a completely different entity?
I see the band as its own thing, separate than like, you know, the other projects I've had. But I definitely, so when you know we were started the Misfire thing, all my previous projects I was the main singer songwriter. You know, I could, because I could play most instruments. It'd be like, this is the idea. We basically have like a bare bones of like a tune. Excuse me. And so with this project, I'd actually like step back and be like, all right, what's best for the song, instead of like what I want to do. And I started off as a guitar player, and then I switched to bass because I had a bass and we need a bass player. And it's like, what are we gonna do? Well, I'll play bass because I got one, right? So, and then after that, we got JR, and it's like, oh, now we don't need a guitar player. It's like, oh, but I'm glad everything worked out the way it did. It's just kind of funny that, you know, scenario, you know, that path. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I'll play guitar. I'll come up with some riffs. I can play some drums too. I personally approach songwriting from the view of like what's best for the song versus my ego. And I think being able to play multiple instruments definitely helps, because I could get like a bigger picture of the song versus just my perspective of my single instrument. Jim, our drummer, also fucking plays guitar. He can play bass. Amazing drummer. Jake, yeah, we all of us could play multiple instruments, so it's very easy. You know, we got guitars all over the place, so it's just, you know, someone pick up a guitar, I'll pick up the other guitar, or drums, and next thing you know, we got a song.
You guys are probably the most democratic sounding band I've ever spoken to in regards to the multiple instruments and how you're sharing ideas and things like that. Is it as free flowing as it sounds?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes one of us will be like, oh, I can't come up with a riff, but I mean, it's because we, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about jamming. So there's not really a lot of pressure, and we don't set it up like that where we get together for, okay, let's do a writing day where we have to come up with 5 songs today. It's more like, let's jam, and oh, you have a cool riff, cool, let's record that. You know, oh, let's work on that, you know. So that's honestly how it happens. I mean, there are some times where one of us will have more of a complete, not a complete, but a more or less like that, like the bones of it, the bare bones of it. But we all, you know, want to make the right for the song. So if that means, you know, this riff only happens twice instead of 4 times, so we try to keep it very democratic, and it's worked out so far. So
Considering the, say, a very relaxed attitude to it, the lack of pressure and stuff like that, did you not even feel any kind of pressure when it came to building and creating and working and leading up towards the release of the album?
I mean, honestly, not really, because we self-released the album in May,
Yeah.
and then we got signed, so they're like, you gotta take that down. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't really feel like pressure, because it was kind of done already, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like, all right, well, we have the song now. The funny thing is, now after playing them for longer, it's like, oh, I could have done this riff differently. That sounds cooler. So, but you know, that's how it goes, right? It's once you finish recording something, you're like, oh, wait, I could have, in the drive home, like, man, I could have done this. But then when you listen back like 6 months later, you're like, oh, it's badass the way it was. So it was meant to be, I guess.
I'm glad you brought that up, because earlier on I was baffled and confused over one particular thing I'd found, which hadn't been mentioned in press releases or anything like that, which of course was the fact that I was like, wait a minute, it came out in May 2021. That can't be right. Looking around, can't find any other proof of it. And I'm thinking, I won't mention it, but if he brings it up, it'll
Yeah.
confirm what I was wondering.
Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to mention it or not, but
Well, it's out there. You can
it's out
find
there
it.
now. So I mean, yeah, there's evidence of it somewhere. So
It's actually really obvious evidence as well. There was a specific aggregate website which will tell you exactly when that album came out. So that's where I'd found it. That in mind, then, this the re-release of it, the release of it now in April 2022, has that refreshed it in your mind? Because when you've had these tracks for such a long time and you know, released last year and then back to now, does it feel fresh again?
oh yeah, yeah, because of the fact, like, we could talk about it and be like, hey, check out the album. It's, you know, you could, the whole thing is here. Our videos, like, everything is finally out. So that's why it's, you know, we don't have to like go about it like, oh yeah, I got to check out my band. Oh, I'll send you a track or something. You know, now it's just like everyone, you could listen to it on whatever you want to listen to music on, you know. And it's still, it's, you know, it probably made it, you know, refreshed it a little bit, because there's no pressure of like, we have to keep stuff secret and this and that, and it's just out, and it's great.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. Misfire, like sound-wise, kind of drawing proudly from the heyday of thrash's past, but it's something that's not stuck there. Are you conscious of genre pigeonholing? That the genre pigeonholing that happens, and do you kind of care, or do you not care if you're kind of labeled as a thrash throwback?
Well, I mean, we definitely know, you know, that we have that kind of old school thrash sound, and because that's the music we love. So, but you know, we also love different kinds of music too, and you know, sometimes we'll throw a little bit of like death metal vibes into our tunes.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, when we are writing songs and just jamming, you know, like I said, they come from an organic place. So I don't think there's much thought into like, well, we have to follow this formula because we're this kind of band. Because, like, you know, if we could write a better song that's not a simple AB thrash song or whatever, like, I'd rather have the better sounding song, you know. And again, like, we have very big, you know, a vast difference of musical influences here. So, you know, I love like classic rock and blues and progressive metal and progressive classic rock, plus the thrash stuff, plus AC/DC, you know, it's like a little bit of everything. So when, you know, when we, you know, like I said, when we write a song, it's not really like I don't think like feeling pressure, like we have to write this certain kind of thing because this is what we are. I think people want to hear good music and you know, grow with a band. And you know, I wouldn't necessarily want to hear like the same album over and over and over again, because it's kind of like, well, like, do something a little bit different, you know, still stay true to who you are, but you know, definitely grow as an artist. And that's what we plan on doing as a band, growing, you know, as songwriters, musicians.
Of course. If you're not thinking that, if that's not your outlook, probably shouldn't be doing it, right?
Yeah, right.
I think it's just a music thing. We love nothing more than to go, what do you sound like and what label can I attach to it?
Yeah, right.
The studio experience, in particular the sound you were going for on this album, how important was it for you to get that live sound that is effectively going to be similar to, here's what it sounds like on record, hey, it also sounds exactly like this on the stage?
Yeah, well, I mean, so because we recorded it here at our studio, I was like, well, I'm gonna kind of be the boss and be like, all right, so I'm not, so like the drums, that's where we started with. And I kept telling, Jimmy, like, just give me the best take you could do. We all tracked it together without a click track. And it was just like a, count it off, go for it. And next thing you know, it only took a couple takes to get everything like, synced up. And then we went back and replaced our, or not replaced, but did our final guitar and bass tracks and stuff. But it was definitely, we want to capture how we sound like jamming as if you're in the room, which is how we want to sound, when you see us live. The only difference is live, it'll be through a big PA and you'll be able to feel the kick drums and the bass and everything. It's not as loud in the rehearsal spot, but that's what we wanted to go for, because those are the albums and the sounds that I love, that have like real instruments, a real drummer hitting a real drum. They had to be tuned, same thing with guitar and bass. Because and another thing is, like, because I work live audio, like I see a lot of these bands show up with like laptops and tracks, and like, there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't want that for my band. So I was like, we're gonna use tube amps. I have Marshall, and we used Jay's amp. I forgot what kind he's got, but yeah, just real amps, real players, no click tracks. Didn't go back and replace a whole bunch of stuff, because what you're hearing is what you would hear as if you just showed up and watched us jam, which is the sound that we want to go for, and was what I was going for too, as the engineer guy. So
it comes through. It does come through. You have to kind of check the print and go, wait, this isn't a live recording in a live album recording.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems like you guys, at least I was talking to you, you guys have a lot of fun in Misfire, but I want to pick your brains about the not so fun aspect that comes with being in a band these days. It doesn't matter what the band is, or what genre of play, social media management, the slow and long build to release day, statistics studying, press. Are these aspects you're finding yourself enjoying a bit more now? Or is it something as a group you try and steer, particularly social media, I think, steer away from?
No, we run all of our own social medias and all that stuff, and that is a whole lot of work. And yeah, you're right, talking about the not so fun stuff, but it's so cool, because that's how we connect with people and stuff. So it comes with it being at this level. So it's cool. It's a good problem to have, for sure. And then with the interviews, it's just that shit's, it's cool, so cool. So I don't definitely I don't mind it, but these are more fun than like doing the Facebook and all that. But we still do. We all do it ourselves.
Do you find the social media management interaction thing quite useful to interact with the fan base, compared to obviously what would normally be the face-to-face interactions at a gig that has been very limited?
Yeah, I mean, James does more of our social media stuff. Like, I know we have the business manager app or whatever, but I don't know how that works. I think I'm the one that like set it up, but that's as much as I did. I just play bass, dude. I just want to play bass. But because we can't have that as much face-to-face interaction too. I mean, it's something we got to do, and we don't. It is what it is.
It is exactly what it is. And as you said, you don't have much of a choice these days. You kind of have to do something. Is the goal now for you guys considering the state of pretty much the world as it is now in 2022, and making plans is incredibly difficult. Festivals, all holdovers from year or 2 years previously. Is the goal just to try and get out as much as you can and play?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to get out like now. If they said you could leave tomorrow, we'd probably be like, all right, cool. Where are we going?
Got a bit stir crazy inside, yeah.
What was that?
Going a bit stir crazy now inside, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But you know, at least the first album's out and done. So now, if we could get occupied with doing album 2 in the meantime. But yeah, we definitely want to get out and tour.
Well, without going into too much detail, because of course I know you can't and you shouldn't anyway. But like, is that kind of really what you guys are currently kind of working on, just writing songs and music for what will come next?
Yeah, basically, apart from just, you know, jamming the tunes to stay fresh on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, I don't like being stuck at home with nothing to do. So I figure might as well, like, could just, you know, there's no harm in coming up with riffs.
Yeah.
We have, you know, a couple 2-3 songs, like new ones, you know. So if we have, you know, it's always better to have more songs than not enough. So when it comes time to actually picking what we're doing for the next album, could always pick from that one. But we don't, you know, there's going to be like they're going to have to be it's good enough to get to that level, of course.
It makes sense. You'd rather be able to pick from a pool of 100 rather than a pool of 10.
Right, because then at that point it's like all 10 of them are going on there.
Yeah.
And then we'll be like, damn, we got to come up with some more.
All right, last question for you then, and it's really just a general one. Being a band that plays thrash music amongst much more, do check out the album and you'll get an idea of what we're talking about here. But focusing on that specifically, thrash has had its ups and downs, it's had its peaks and valleys, but it has stayed pretty timeless. As a fan yourself, what do you think has made thrash timeless?
I think, well, so for me personally, it's like all about the vibes and the atmosphere. Like we had municipal waste come through, and like the energy in that room for their show was insane.
Yeah.
And it's not just them. Like I could hear like Toxic Holocaust. I've been listening to Chemistry of Consciousness a lot lately. Like I'll put on that album and it's I get this feeling of like, I don't know, I just want to get like moving. I get excited. Not like I want to like break shit, but excited. Like honestly, just talking about it right now, I'm getting excited. I'm probably gonna listen to Toxic Holocaust when we're done. But yeah, I think that's why, because it's ability to like just make a person feel like that kind of excitement, because it's very exciting. You know, it's like, you know, fast riffs, you know, high energy, you know, crazy vocals. It's chaotic and crazy, but exciting and fun. And I think that's why. And
yeah,
that's why I think it's going to keep on being timeless, you know.
That is true. There are a lot of great young bands like yourselves and so on that are doing this kind of music and changing and adapting and progressing it too, as the giants of the scene slowly step aside or close down and stuff like that. Like the Slayer, of course, gone and stuff like that. So it's always exciting, as you said.
Yeah, it's a good time to be in a thrash band.
Yeah, hopefully, yes, absolutely. I wish you all the success with this album release. Thank you for doing this.
Dude, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?